Alright YouTube, this is a video on how to replace your water pump on a 2011 through 2014 Dodge Charger. I mean, it should be all the same, everything up, but it's a Hemi RT. Should be able to do it with common hand tools. Got a little start already. I just took my air intake off. It's an 8mm bolt. To take these off are a flathead. Anyways, let's get into it. Might as well go ahead and start draining the coolant. So to drain your coolant, you're going to come underneath your vehicle. Right here's where your radiator is. You're going to come back here to your radiator, right where I have this blue bucket. You can see, if I could set this up, right here is the bleeder valve. Well, that's the bleeder valve, but that's the drain valve. So what you're going to do is you're going to get a little wrench or anything like that on this so you can break this free and loosen it. I'm going to turn this towards the passenger side. I'm just going to keep, oh shit. Alright, well that's draining down there. Take the cap off of this. Alright, so once you get your socket on there, you want to get a pipe, like off of a jack. You're going to use that as a cheater bar. Pull the belt tensioner, take this off, take one of your belts off. So just pull the belt off from right here, apart even more. You're gonna just pull this clip off. So you'll pull this red tab back, and then there's a pinch piece underneath here. You pinch that, pull it off, and then you got a 10mm bolt that's gonna hold this hose on. So get a screwdriver if you want to pry this off. That way it could wedge itself in there even more. And you're gonna kind of like just pull up on it. That'll pop right out, just like so. All right, so next, your belt tensioner has to come off. It's a 16mm. When you take this off, kind of inspect it, make sure that everything still spins good. If it still spins freely, it's fine. You don't want to spin it and it'd be like really hard to spin or anything like that. You don't want to spin it and hear a lot of grinding or squeaking. This, I believe, is a 13. Yep, that's a 13. So the secondary pulley down here, the one that we're taking off now, is a 13. Alright, now I'm going to take the hose off. Hose clamp is 8mm. So without ripping it, kind of work a flathead around it. And just kind of like pry the rubber back from the housing. Just kind of tuck this off to the side where it's not going to be in the way. I believe these are 13mm as well. Long ass bolts. Alright. Bolts. Just put this off to the side where you're not going to lose it. And here's your thermostat. Grab it right here at the top of it. Pull it out. If you can't, grab it and just pull it out like that. Don't grab anything like a flathead to try to pry it out. If you plan on reusing this thermostat, grab a pair of pliers. Grab this, gently kind of grab it. Don't squeeze it real tight. Just grab it gently and pull it out. You got one right here that you're taking out, one right here that you're taking out. There's another one right down here.
Okay, so I'm sitting here trying to edit this video for you guys, and I'm starting to kind of realize that it's hard for me to show you guys exactly where all the bolts are. So I just looked up this diagram real quick to kind of explain it to you. So right here where my mouse cursor is, if you follow it, so over here it's the little hand now. This bolt is right here. That's this bolt. This bolt that this little bolt hole that's right here. That's this bolt. So this bolt is right here. This one is right here. There is a secondary, or a third bolt right underneath this the thermostat temperature sensor. So the sensor that shows your coolant temps. Once you take this sensor off, there's a bolt right here underneath it. So there's a bolt right behind that. There's another bolt. So you could actually see it right here. There's the bolt right there, and then you have a bolt right here, and then you have a bolt right here. This one down here you don't have to take out. That's not part of the water pump. It's this one, and then you have a bolt right here behind this temperature sensor. Then you have this one, and then you have this one, and that's for all these right here. You don't have to take out this bottom one, just this one. And then there's another one that's right underneath where your pellet tensioner is. There's another bolt right down here. You can see it right here on the diagram. It's right underneath this. And then there's another bolt right underneath your main pulley. You can see it right here on the diagram. That's where the hole is. It's right down here. And then you have another bolt that's right here. So if you look at it right here on the diagram, right here, what this is this is your drain plug, or whatever you want to call this. So you have this right here that says 8. This is the main bolt that's right here. This is this big stud bolt. 9 right here is the one that goes down here. So you have a bolt that goes right here, and then there's another bolt that's right here. To refresh it, there's a bolt right here that you have to take out. This one you have to take out. There's one that's right here behind this thermostat sensor. There's another bolt right here that you have to take out. This one, you do not remove this one. You don't need to take this one off. Take this one off. There's another one right here underneath where this your belt tensioner mounts. There's another bolt right here underneath your main pulley, right there. There's another bolt that's down here that you have to take out. There's another bolt that's right here off the side of your other tensioner mount, or your belt pulley mount. It's right here. And then there's this big stud bolt that's right here. So if you're having any problems, just look at the diagram and kind of follow along where this is, and just basically kind of just like trace your water pump. Because it took me about an hour to figure out where all these bolts are, because I didn't realize this one was right here. So good luck with taking the bolts out. Also, when you take the bolts out, there are ones that are different lengths. Like you can see in this diagram, there's a small one that goes right here. There's this long one, and then this one. Kind of remember where all these big and small bolts go. If you don't, there's somewhere in this video where I talk about how to figure out which one goes where. So good luck with that.
Alright. Once you get that bolt out, you can pull this off. There's going to be a lot of fluid stuck in it still. When you get the new part, the seal will come in a separate little package. You'll have to put the seal in. It's pretty easy. You can just see where the shapes are and match it up. Alright everybody, so I'm going to give you this quick tip real quick. So if you take these bolts out and you don't know where they go in this, so the short ones, you'll have one that goes right here, one right here, one right here, all the way on this corner. So you have one, the short ones, the short bolts, they'll go right here. One will be right up here, one will be right up here, and then the other one will be right here. And then the last one would go in this very bottom plug. These long bolts, the longer ones, they go in up here, right, no, not right there, right here, and I think right here. The longest one, the one that's longer than all the other ones, it goes in right here where your lower radiator hose comes through. So it'll drop in through here because it's the only one that will actually not necessarily just fit in this hole, but it's the only one that'll drop all the way into it. Just like that, it'll go all the way in and it'll stop right there. And then you can start threading it. If you try to stick one of these shorter long bolts in it, it won't start grabbing the threads. The ones where these shallow bolts go, if you stick it in there, it'll start threading right here. Right as soon as you stick the bolt through there, it'll start threading. So if you try to take one of these long bolts and try to stick it into a spot where a short bolt goes, so you see how this long bolt, I just stuck it right in there and see how deep it went compared to, so look at that, that's how far back it's going in there before it's actually starting to thread into something. I could feel the thread start to grab. Now if you take a short one and try shoving it in there, see how it goes flush and then you don't feel no threads? So if I take this short bolt and try to put this long bolt in that short bolt's location, when I stick this long bolt in here, that's where the threads start. And you should know you don't have to thread that much thread into it. Alright, so now after you get all your bolts just threaded in, not snug, just threaded in, you're going to go around and snug them up now. But when you do it, you're going to do them in kind of in like an X pattern, kind of like how you do your lugs. You're going to space it out. So like when you do your lugs, you'll tighten this one and then that one and then this one and then this one and this one. So you kind of like a star pattern. It's like go here, 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 and here. You're going to kind of do the same thing on this, so that way you get even pressure distributed across the whole thing, so that way it seals correctly. So you'll do this one right here, and then this one down here, and then the one that's down here, and then you'll do this one up top, and then one at the bottom, and then this one up here, and then one back over here, and one back here, and then so on and so forth. Alright, so after you get done snugging them up, what you're gonna do, you're gonna kind of push this hose back in. Push that in, make sure it's seated all the way. And you're gonna grab that 10mm bolt that you hopefully didn't lose. And start threading this in. Now a big tip I will tell you, when you're tightening these bolts, if you keep your old water pump right here, right next to you, so you can see where all the bolt holes are, it kind of helps you use it as basically like a cheat sheet, so you know which ones you, like, alright, I know I tightened this one down, I know I tightened that one down. If I wouldn't have had this here, I would have forgot that I didn't tighten this one down, and then this one that's right here that would have been back here hiding, I didn't tighten that one down, and then there's one that's underneath here. So make sure you tighten this down. If you come up to me and start asking me what the torque specs are, I have no clue. You're gonna have to Google that yourself. Alright, so after you get all the bolts tightened in, go ahead and put this sensor back in. It is a 3/4, or I believe it's like a 16, something like that, 16 or 19, whatever. Go ahead and put this back in, tighten it down, grab the clip, put the clip back on, like that, push that little red tab in, pull on a little bit, make sure it's locked in. You can go ahead and install your thermostat back in. When you put your thermostat in, all of this, the springs and everything, this has to be facing down. So face that down, put that in there, make sure that it's sealed right. Alright, you got both your pulleys. This one right here, the one that's just the wheel and the bolt, this will go right here. That up for now. This one, come over here. Alright, so you see how this has this little nub on it right here? It goes into this little hole right here, so that way you know which way this has to be facing. So after you get your pulleys back on here, make sure not to try to over tighten this one. If you over tighten it, then this pulley won't spin. Once you get to a certain point where it's tight enough, this bolt will actually kind of like do, like, it'll make clicking noise. If you don't know what it is, it'll sound like it's breaking, but it'll make a clicking noise. That'll lock into place. And then this pulley, you just want about hand tight. You don't really want them too tight, because then, you know, the pulley won't pulley. After you get your pulley on, go ahead and grab your belt and throw your belt on. I looked up the diagram, I got it on my phone. This is what it is. So you go from up and around the alternator, underneath the pulley, over your water pump, over the pulley to this pulley, down underneath your AC compressor, underneath the crank, up over the crank, back to the belt tensioner, and then back there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it all together and then I'll show you. Alright, so it's kind of hard to explain, but the easiest way for you to put your belt on, loop it around the alternator, put everything else on except when you put this pulley on. Do not put this pulley on. So loop it around, excuse me, loop it around the AC compressor, loop it around your crank, up and around over, up and around from your crank, over the belt tensioner to the alternator, underneath this pulley, over the water pump, and then get it back to this pulley. When you get it back to that pulley, pull it back on this belt tensioner, and it'll slide over easier on this. Because I was sitting there for 20 minutes trying to fight it over this, which is my alternator, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, there's no way, because when I took the belt off, it wasn't that hard to take it off. So what I did is I put it back on the alternator, and it slipped right on. As soon as I pulled that belt tensioner back here and bring the belt over here, it just went right on. I'm going to tighten this down, but not fully, because you might have to adjust where you're going to have to like twist this and everything and adjust where this is facing. Alright, so after you get both of your hoses on, your belt on, your water pump, after you get everything else put on, what you're going to want to do is you're going to go out and get your coolant, fill up your reservoir. And this right here is pretty important. I have a video on it on my channel already. It's how to bleed the cooling system. This is the purge bolt that lets the coolant run through the system. But go ahead and look at it everywhere for leaks. That's the video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Try to get more content out. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. But I'm gonna go in, wash my hands, take care of my daughter.